Yeah, thanks, Alicia. I think probably it's because of the San Adam yesterday night. I kind of forget why am I here? What kind of journey are we talking about? Now, there was a brilliant videos back then when you search with ChatGPT, it takes a while for you to improvise your prompt until you get your answers. So perhaps you guys can help me to review my prompt and see why am I here today. So if I don't get an answer, we'll be off earlier. All right. First thing first, I think I put in some things like my passions, like I like payments, especially payment securities, and that's basically my day job. Not so. And I talk about the second one, where I say that my expertise is about innovations. I wanted to challenge the norms, and what get in the way is the complexities to navigate through the payment security landscape. Not so much. And about the last prompt, hope we get something here, is about my connections. What I love to do to connect to awesome peoples, awesome communities like you guys, to share some ideas, some insights, and hopefully we can collaborate and do some things together. Does ring a bell? Thank you. I'm Nicholas Lim, Chief Technology Officer of Sourcebase, and today I'm going to talk about an ideas of what AI can do in payment securities. Who remember this little boy? We're about the same age. Well, in the old times, not too old, hopefully, we talk about AI being just a movie, science fictions. And this boy tried very hard to learn about feelings and emotions. I can't really remember the ending. But today, if we fast forward and ask, what is AI? We probably will be able to relate to a tool, an assistant, ChatGPT. Right? What happens between these years? Why are we talking about a movie, a science fiction, and then a tool that we can interact with? So think about it. There are lots of things that are being put into our minds over the years. So our perceptions of AI really come from movies, science fictions. While 99% of the movies says that I'm going to take over the world. AI is going to harm us, right? And from the media news recently, when ChatGPT is launched, everybody is talking about the gloom and doom of our jobs being taken away. But for the awesome communities here, we are safe. Our job is pretty much safe. Right, and also there are a little bit of business narrations and business agenda from the politicians, from the leaders, and that tells us what AI can do, what AI can't do. So I invite everyone to think about it. If today, right here in these community meetings, if we are to press a big reset button and think about the original intent of AI, what would that be? So in order to understand a little bit of that, I have to go through the boring stuff, which is the history of AI. But let me talk about it from a perspective of an AI journey. So when AI was born, 1956, Dartmouth Conference, many parents I heard, but I know none of them. So they would then raise AI to beat humans on competitions and games that we are good at. So in 1997, IBM Deep Blue defeats the chess champion, Gary. So we might say that chess is quite a simple game, right? Not a lot of possibilities, but still, 1997, the computing powers, the storage, and everything is quite limited. 2011, IBM Watson wins the game of Jeopardy. So that seems a little bit more complex because it's a question and answer or answer to questions kind of games. So that is quite significant. But if we fast forward a little bit, in 2016, Google DeepMind AlphaGo, they beat the champion of Go. And Go is a game that's full of possibilities. There's millions of possibilities, moves that you can make. And during that time, even in 2016, there isn't a lot of computers or hardware infrastructure that will be able to process these kind of complexities. This is a breakthrough. And shortly after, in 2022, that's where GPT-3 was released and announced. So that's the fundamental block of ChatGPT. But I want to share something very personal and dear to my heart that has happened between 2016 and 2022. Who knows Dota 2? Come on. So I'm a gamer at core, and I love Dota 2. Of course, not now, in my younger age, much younger. And this game is very competitive and very, very complex. So I still remember that we have to get together in a cyber cafe to train, just to play good games. And I was always criticized about this thing called animation canceling. Does that ring a bell? So if you choose a hero, whatever hero, you try to kill another hero, so you attack, and it looks like this. So what I was told to do, not like this. So I save half a second. That's animation canceling. And we talk about things like leveraging on the terrain differences, line of sight, so it's very, very complex just to win a game. But guess what? In 2019, OpenAI have a team, an AI team, OpenAI 5, and what happens is that they defeat the world champion of Dota 2, OG. So what does that mean in this space? It simply means that now we can actually rely on AI to improve our performance in esports, even towards these kind of complexities. That would mean that there could be a way to train the model in these particular games, and we can have AI companions or AI team member in a professional gameplay. So that changed the esport gameplays a lot and landscape a lot. So now, if we think about it and ask ourselves questions, so what really AI is? So I want to share that this diagram pretty complex, and definitely I have no ideas how to explain every one of that. But this basically lay up the layers of what is artificial intelligence, what is the more narrow view of it, and eventually land on ChatGPT that we know today. But if any one of you wanted to know a little bit more, I would do so. I just searched up MIT, right? And they have these xPOC courses that is very, very good, providing the details. But come think about it, there is a certain attributes and there is certain characteristic that when we talk about AI, how to apply AI. So that's the three characteristics. You have massive amount of data, hopefully it's relevant data, and you have just one focus, one neural domain that you want to tackle, and your outcome is distinctive. So you know what you want to get. So when these three are there, the AI applications become likely possible. So what does it mean in payments? So there are some data here. So in 2021, we are talking about payment fraud loss of up to $32 billion. That's a lot. And there's a lot of fraud transaction contributing to that. And not only that, it is also projected to climb even higher in the next couple of years. So it could reach $400 billion in that sense. So ask ourselves these questions. If we have this kind of fraud, that would mean that we would have a lot of data about the transactions. We would have a lot of data about how the transaction become a fraudulent case, and that would be our massive amount of relevant data. Next, if we look at what kind of domains are we talking about, it is a security domain. We are here for payment security to shape the future of securities. And if we talk about what kind of outcomes that we wanted to achieve, so it is as simple as when a transaction flows in, I want to decide whether is this a fraud or this is not a fraud. It is very clear. It looks like it is able to actually tick all the boxes. So one may ask that the council has done a lot in terms of standards, in terms of revisions of standards, and to advocate and to create awareness of why securities is important in payments. So why do we need AI in here? So one of the answers that I personally feel is that standards is important. That's the fundamentals. It's like the Lego blocks. But how we implement the standards and how fast we can implement the standards would then dictate whether the standards will be put in good use and we are in time to battle some of these frauds that potentially may happen. So the two have to work together to be able to create a better future from a payment security landscape. So SoftSpace is one of the first companies that actually certified MPOC, mobile payment on cards, where you just use mobile devices, cards, to actually accept contactless transactions. And we do it in a way that what we call the monolithic solutions, where we actually build all the three components, key components within MPOC. And that's why I wanted to look into the lens of MPOC and think about how AI can be applied here. So the first components we talk about, of course, is the MPOC applications. So the application itself is a payment mobile apps that would be able to run on COTS devices, your mobiles and tablets as available, and you would then be able to tap your contactless card through the NFC interface and complete the transactions. So that's the MPOC applications. MPOC SDK. I know I'm gonna get into trouble of this. So to be accurate, this is MPOC software. I know Andrew is looking at me, but normally it is presented in the form of software development kits, MPOC SDK, right? So this is a library. Yesterday we learned about transfer scope. So if I'm an applications provider or mobile application provider, and I want to provide MPOC solutions to my customer, so I can leverage on a MPOC SDK or certified MPOC SDK solutions. So basically think about all the important functionalities of contactless payment, the security requirements, the performance of it is all encapsulated and certified under this particular SDK. Right? So then the last piece of puzzle, an MPOC attestations and monitoring backend. Again, Andrew is looking at me. This is an MPOC services. So this part would be quite an interesting piece because it is a backend working together with a bit of front-end elements to continuously check and verify the security posture of all the components that make up the MPOC solutions. So I think this would be one of the candidates where AI can truly shine. So let's explore a little bit more. Think about how a traditional approach would be today where we have a forger and a detector. So somebody trying to create a fraud and somebody trying to stop them to create a fraud. So attestations play a role in a detector. But today, forger would probably think about how to bypass and exploit some of the backdoors, and they use some tools. And what we try to do at the detector end from an attestation and monitoring point of view is that we put in a lot of rules that we can think of to stop that from happening. Well, the good news is when we put in enough rules, we likely would be able to stop a lot of this fraudulent case to happen. But that would mean user experience is not that good. You get to process a little bit more. You potentially would have false alarms. So that is a balance there. So what we think about, how can we change from this proactive rule-based protection to something that is a little bit more reactive rule-based protections to something that is a little bit more proactive. So this is where AI comes into the picture. So what if today we can actually have some form of AI, some form of auto-learning process that is embedded within the attestations engine or the attestation backend. So while we sleep, the AI continues to work. So if there is something suspicious, you can always talk about, I'll block it up front, or I will just let it pass for a while, but send an alert so that some subsequent actions can be done. So it can self-learn. So if there is a lot of instructions saying that these types of transactions or this transaction from these locations, the nature of the transactions, or if it's from a certain devices that potentially create more problem than others, then we talk about the system elevates the rules automatically to say that, yeah, I'm gonna have more eyes on this and probably want to block more on this. So while this is happening, it is helping the humans, which is us, to learn what is happening out there. So we can then influence the rules to say that, okay, this seems to be a problem. let's investigate a little bit more. And if it is in fact an issue, then we will officiate the rules and say that, hey, we're going to block this. Right? So think about the use case or the applications on Dota 2 games. It's pretty similar. It is based on the data that we collected and we know. We look at into the security domains, and eventually we say that leverage on that to determine whether this is a fraud, not a fraud. And I remember when I start, I say that we are pretty safe because we still have a role in here. We come in and say that if it is not a fraud, what is the weightage? And we have the decisions to say whether this is really something that we should block off or not. So AI is more of an assistance to help us to achieve what we want to achieve. So that's the new perception of AI. And throughout this, I hope that we can think about how we can leverage on AI moving forwards. And like what the slide says, the future is now. So if we don't think about how to leverage on it now, guess what? Today, we have an awesome community talking about to shape the future of payment securities. I'm sure somewhere else, there's another community which we don't want to know that talk about how do I conduct fraud? How do I exploit the system? Right? They may come into the same idea that, hey, let's use AI. So in future, I truly believe that it is not about AIs or it is not about the rules that we set. It is about the hardware, the infrastructures, the processing powers that we have to battle this, to win this battle. So whoever has a better infrastructures would win. And if you think about the forger would leverage on AI, how would we be able to catch up if we don't have the same tools, if we don't have the same arsenals? So that is what I wanted to bring through in today's presentation. And hopefully, I'm happy to connect to all of you like-minded people, the awesome community. If you think that there are certain collaborations on AI, some ideation, some talks, do contact me, and I'm more than happy to discuss further. Thank you.